Hello and welcome. As we begin our journey in understanding the enterprise customer, the foundational first step is to clearly differentiate between enterprise sales and SMB sales. Our objective in this segment is to understand the fundamental distinctions between selling to large enterprises and selling to small to medium businesses. For you as a mid-career professional, understanding this difference is crucial. It's not just academic, it directly impacts how you approach prospecting, qualify opportunities, structure your deals, manage your time, and ultimately determines the skills you need to hone to succeed in the enterprise arena. Recognizing this shift is the first step towards mastering enterprise sales. Let's define what we mean. SMB sales typically involve selling to companies ranging from very small businesses to those with perhaps a few hundred employees. Enterprise sales, on the other hand, focuses on selling to very large organizations, often with thousands of employees, complex structures, and significant revenue. While both involve selling products or services, the way you sell is vastly different. At its core, the difference between enterprise and SMB sales is driven by the scale and complexity of the customer organization. Enterprise sales is not just a larger version of SMB, it's a distinct discipline with its own rules, challenges, and rewards. It moves from a transactional or simply relational approach to one that is deeply strategic, consultative, and requires navigating intricate corporate landscapes. Let's break down the key distinctions across several dimensions. First, customer size and structure. SMB customers are typically smaller, with simpler organizational charts. Enterprise customers are vast, often global, with multiple departments, divisions, and complex reporting structures. Second, stakeholders and decision-making. In SMB, decisions are often made by one or two people, perhaps the owner or a key manager, and the process is relatively informal. In enterprise, deals involve a large number of stakeholders across different functions: users, IT, legal, procurement, finance, and multiple levels of management, each with their own concerns and influence. The decision process is formal, multi-layered, and bureaucratic. Third, deal size and complexity. SMB deals are generally smaller, often focused on a specific product or immediate need. Enterprise deals are much larger in value, typically involve complex solutions, integrations, customizations, and often long-term service agreements. Fourth, sales cycle length. SMB sales cycles are relatively short, often completed in days or weeks. Enterprise cycles can last months, a year, or even longer, reflecting the client's internal evaluation and approval processes. Fifth, sales process. SMB processes can be more direct and transactional. Enterprise requires a strategic, phased approach focused on building consensus, managing relationships across the organization, and guiding the complex buying process. Sixth, risk perception. The perceived risk of a purchase is lower for an SMB. For an enterprise, the investment is significant, and failure can have major repercussions, leading to extensive due diligence and risk mitigation requirements. Finally, value proposition focus. While SMB might focus on features and immediate cost, enterprise requires demonstrating significant ROI, strategic impact, long-term value, and addressing complex business outcomes. Consider selling project management software as an example. To an SMB, you might speak directly to the owner or office manager, demonstrate the core features, discuss the monthly cost, and close the deal within a couple of weeks. To an enterprise, you would likely engage with department heads who need the software, IT for security and integration review, procurement for contract terms, legal counsel, and executive sponsors for budget approval. You discuss deployment strategies, scalability, data security compliance, multi-year ROI, and the cycle could easily extend beyond a year. As a mid-career professional, understanding these differences is essential for choosing your path and succeeding within enterprise sales. It clarifies the need to develop skills beyond individual selling, focusing on account strategy, multi-stakeholder management, patience through long cycles, and deep business acumen. It helps you properly qualify opportunities, recognizing early whether a prospect requires the enterprise playbook, and setting realistic expectations for deal progression and required effort. A common pitfall when transitioning to or working in enterprise is applying an SMB mindset or tactics, expecting quick decisions, relying on a single point of contact, or focusing too narrowly on price. Mitigation requires consciously studying the enterprise buying process, dedicating time to thorough stakeholder mapping, and embracing the necessity of long-term relationship building and patience. Underestimating the complexity of internal client politics and processes is another pitfall. Actively seeking to understand the unwritten rules of the client organization is key. Your actionable takeaway from this segment: reflect on your previous sales experiences, particularly if you've sold to both smaller and larger companies. Identify one specific characteristic of enterprise sales, such as the multi-stakeholder decision-making, that is significantly different from SMB. Make a conscious effort in your next interaction with an enterprise prospect to actively seek out and engage with an additional stakeholder beyond your usual contact point, specifically because you recognize this key difference. In summary, differentiating between enterprise and SMB sales reveals that enterprise is a distinct, complex, and strategic endeavor requiring a different skill set, approach, and mindset compared to selling to smaller businesses. Understanding this fundamental difference is the essential first step in effectively understanding the enterprise customer in all their complexity, which we will continue to explore in the following segments, like segmenting and targeting and mapping stakeholders.